Welcome to Pulpcast, the official podcast for thepulpmedia.com. Today we are joined by YouTube sensation Klaire de Lys and her collaborator Chloe Owens. Together these two have created the comic The Outsider and are currently working on an animated adaptation. Please enjoy as Jordan and I discuss with them their creative endeavors. Yeah, we're going to have some fun today, so Jordan, why don't you get us started?
All right, so let's see here. So we're talking to Chloe and Klaire about their Outsider comic book series. From what we've gathered, it looks pretty awesome. There's a lot going on. With Klaire, these were books before you guys went ahead and wanted to do the comic book?
Yeah, they were. I wrote the first books, and then Chloe contacted me, and she talked about, let's make a comic, and I'd always kind of imagined it, not like comic, but obviously when I was writing it, I could imagine how it looked. So the idea that I could get this actually done in a comic book and have it visually on the page the way I imagined it was pretty awesome. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah.
Yeah, the art's awesome to it. I've read through what you guys have on the website, and the art is definitely selling it.
Yeah. I know, McCoy is so good. She's really, really good at that. I can't draw any kind of comic art to save my life. I prefer more kind of like photorealism type stuff. That's where I'm like, okay, that I can more or less handle, and McCoy is so good. She's so fast as well. And I'm just there like, okay, I'm going to take a step back because this girl blows me out of the water.
Hello? Did we lose him?
Hello?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just here. Just making sure.
So the YouTube channel actually said you guys were pitching it for a short animated series?
That's the plan, yeah. We'd like to get it to pitch it as an animation series, which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
And Claire's kind of just a little tired, but yeah, we're working around the clock on it, so.
Yeah, she's in America, or actually in LA from the UK, right?
Yeah. I'm a little bit quiet in general, so Chloe's always like, speak up, have more energy, and I'm like, I'm British. I say yes and no. That's the end of it.
She's quite a mouse. She's quite a creative mouse. That's what matters, right?
Well, you don't talk much when you're crazy, so you don't get any practice.
Yeah, is this your first time in LA?
Yes, it is. It's the second time in America, but first time in LA.
LA is something else. I lived there in 2014 for a year, and it's pretty insane.
It's so big and I can't believe that everyone has to get around with a car. I mean, I can't drive, so I'm completely reliant on things like Lyft and stuff like that. And I just can't believe how big it is.
Right.
You think it's going to end, and it's
it's
going and going.
I mean,
especially, how far you can go north.
Yeah, she's not even been really outside of the LA area, I think, because Claire's staying maybe 3 minutes away from me in downtown LA, and nice Airbnb. So we've been to Santa Monica, and we've been to Playa Vista, because we've been shooting all over with other YouTubers at their places and studios and whatnot. So she's gotten to see a small fraction, I would say, of Los Angeles. But it's I used to live in where she lives now in England, and it's totally different.
Yeah. Very, very different. The weather's
it's a totally different world.
I always remark to Klaire how amazing writing is in her area, just because you get to see stars. There's thousands of stars out in England, and you come in LA, and it's just you look up and there's
that
nothing.
Messed with me. I got here and I was like, "Where's Orion's belt?" It's there's no stars. Right. Just a few minutes where I just freaked out. I was like, "Oh, where am I? There's no stars." That was a little bit different.
Yeah, and actually coming from Cleveland, which is a lot smaller than than LA. I don't even think I saw much of it in my entire year there. I lived in the Koreatown area, but I worked in Hollywood, which was in its own a very different experience. But like you guys are saying, it's so massive and there's just so much to do and there's so much to see that like where you guys are right now and kind of doing all these shoots, there's just so much more city to see.
Yeah.
Koreatown's super close, so, you know.
Oh,
and it's funny. When you say Cleveland, I automatically think of Drew Carey, just because I used to work there, and he's such a huge Cleveland, like, when he's on The Price is Right, when he hosts it, and, like, he'll play Cleveland Rocks. It's like, is Cleveland, like, super proud of Drew, or do they, like, not?
I mean, I guess not a lot of people talk about it. I mean, they're more so caught up in LeBron and basketball, too much to care about Drew Carey anymore. But growing up, I remember thinking that was like the coolest thing, that somebody was on TV talking about the city, and the theme song had a lot of the things downtown that I grew up seeing. So I guess maybe the older people may remember him as something else, but only being 22, I guess he's a little bit like before my time. I mean, his show was definitely on when I was still into like Pokemon and cartoons and stuff like that. So in seeing him, I know that he's definitely a Cleveland icon, but that's kind of funny. That's like the first thing you guys think about.
Yeah, it's just, you know, because I used to work at Price is Right, and like they play that song every time they close the show, and sometimes he'll dance on stage, and like so it's kind of synced in my brain. Cleveland, Drew Carey. Sorry.
and not LeBron.
Well, maybe my dad, like not me. Claire and I are writers.
Right. That's actually pretty awesome. Back to the Outsiders, the actual series. Who are you guys looking to pitch the show to?
Well, we have a dream list.
Like any specific network?
Yeah, we have a dream list because you guys got to see the lookbook a little bit. So the pilot we've already written is really dark. We'll put it that way. It's it's got like the theme is pretty dark in the sense that we want it to be like an animation idea for HBO. That's kind of how we went in looking at this. Like, if HBO could actually put some like an animation show on their network, this would be it. You know, it's very Game of Thrones. Claire wrote the books. It's like Game of Thrones, and I kind of took it and adapted it so it would feel Game of Thrones meets goblins, elves, dwarves. You know. The works with, the idea being, the last airbender in a sense, that kind of idea, but for adults, which, everyone who likes cartoons, Claire and I love The Last Airbender, from Nickelodeon, but say,
right. Not the film. Let's not get these two confused.
No, not the Shyamalan film.
Shyamalan.
That's like the first thing I thought, though, when I saw the art for it. I immediately thought Avatar, and that's awesome that you guys are kind of playing on that, and this will be a more adult version, because Avatar was one of my favorite cartoons growing up, and that's the first thing I kind of connected to with your guys' Outsider website.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I mean, we are getting a lot of positive feedback regarding, obviously, Nicole's illustration and, like, kind of the ideas behind it. So, yeah, HBO is definitely top of the list. We know, obviously, they're going to be needing new material soon with Girls going off the air. And, they seem like they're adding, they're trying to expand with Sesame Street. But we have, like, Claire's hugely big in digital, obviously. She's a huge YouTube star, and the whole thing is like, right now she's doing publicity for Amazon, and that's another, niche. There's Amazon, there's Netflix. We are, part of the millennial binge watching generation, and, Claire, this is kind of how we look at what we're trying to create. So it's definitely like a digital based theme from, and I even saw like don't know too much about it, but there's like CW Seed, and they're all digital based. And so things that, our target audience is a range between, Game of Thrones meets, The Flash meets, Avatar. So wherever
that just sounds awesome.
Yeah.
No, it had to start out dark, because otherwise, the thing is, the book starts out dark. I didn't want there to be any illusions that this was going to be a kind of sparkly rain of unicorns kind of type story where it's just like very soft and sweet. I'm like, no, dude, like if you're going to read this, brace yourselves, because it's going to be brutal. So at least with the pilot, we didn't want anyone to go into this thinking, oh, this is a nice, relaxing story. It's not. It's about the kind of very violent world and the character that's got a bit of an addiction to throwing herself into bad situations. So, yeah, the pilot is awesome. It's so good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I read on your Amazon reviews for the first book. Some of the reviewers are saying that it's just like, it's really dark and it's awesome. There's a lot of gore in it. Yeah. Or it's graphic, and I think that's hearing that you guys want to go that direction. I think that'd be a perfect fit for it, especially with who you're trying to target and the networks you guys want to go after, because seeing something like this on HBO would definitely be refreshing. And I don't think they're doing anything like this. I don't think anyone's doing anything like this, aside from like the anime across seas. But even that doesn't have a real strong American audience that has something. A lot of people here watch it, but this could definitely be something that lures the Americans into adult animation, and especially in the sense of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's definitely how we see things. It's even more so like, I'm not sure how much you know, but like we're trying to, obviously the animation series, but we also want to write a live action feature film based off of these books. So it's a triple trifecta game plan, but because of the digital audience that Klaire has, we started with the webcomic and just slowly starting to build up a fan base, and it's coming really fast. I mean, Klaire keeps looking at the stats and like
being like, whoa,
on our website, and that's really encouraging. A lot of hard work and energy is going into it, but it's definitely like. The idea, if I was to get lost into a series, this is exactly what I would want to binge. Like, I would just be like, I want to watch this. Shut off my, phone. Let's go. And watch as many and eat it like popcorn. And so that's kind of how Klaire and I look at it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And you guys pretty much have this, Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of already planned out for it, how they have, they obviously have the movies, and then they have these Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Agent Carter, and all that. You guys already have all of that planned out and are just waiting for the outlet to kind of put it all out there.
Pretty much, because the story does it follows different characters as well. And it's not just about, I didn't want it just to be about the main character, and it's got all these other characters like the goblins, there's Ozma, there's Seister, there's Ulf, who's a fascinating character, and then there's my favourite Ragnar, who just isn't in the comic yet, but she's one of those characters that once she gets in, everyone's going to understand why she's so important. And Chloe keeps hearing me yammering on about Ragnar. I'm like, oh, Ragnar! And I think Chloe at this point just shut up about Ragnar already. Okay, right now we're dealing with Ulf. And I'm like, but Ragnar! So.
No, I love Ragnar. I mean, these characters are so intricate in Klaire's mind, which is really quite cool. As a writer, just being able to talk to somebody who has she knows down to the headdress what this woman is going to wear, down to we talk about so many different details, and you probably saw quite a bit of it in the lookbook, but I mean, in the notes that I got from her, writing the Bible and writing the pilot, the notes section from Klaire in her mind, it's insane. It's very intricate. And, she's been thinking about this for several years. So it's not something like, oh, popped out of her,
Well, actually, this one did. This one only popped up in my head 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, several.
Well, yeah. It's not as long as some.
Put a time. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the amazing thing about Klaire is just, like, she has all these creative thoughts. Sometimes I just have to, like, I'm like, okay, it's just short.
Calm down.
No, it's just let's narrow it, and, like, let's focus on this, because this is how we're going to make it, we have to sell it. We have to make it, we can't go all over the board, so.
Yeah, the notes are intense. There's all the creatures, there's all the characters, and I have a description of what they look like, where they're from, important details in their life, and for some of the characters I've got everything from literally where they're born to the current state, which is a couple of 100 years later, and I have to figure out how their lives is going to wind in with everything else. Is it correct? Have I missed a year? Does that not make sense? And I'm terrible at maths, so you can imagine how long that takes me. And they're like, hang on, what did you do for this decade? And it gets very long.
It also is a little bit interesting because I'm pretty much the coordinator between her vision and getting it, not only in writing it in script and writing the shot list, but also working with Nicole, who's obviously, her illustrations are just beyond fantastic. And, she just deserves a huge round of applause for working with us and just being part of our team. But sometimes there are moments where it's like, Klaire has this vision of, like, a character, like, particularly clothing, and, like, Nicole has her own vision, and it didn't correlate. And so it's like, no, and, like we'll be in, like, because we are doing so many other things, and, like, obviously Klaire has her, like, YouTube world and YouTube life also going on, and, like, we'll be on, and, like, Klaire will be like, well, that's not how I wanted it more, like, what's an idea, like, the Asian food, no, I don't want it like that, it's Mongolian inspired, or something of that nature, and, like, so she'll send me references, and then Nicole has to make the changes, but that's because it's, like, so clear in her head what the look she's going for, so that's the only time. But sometimes there are moments where, like sometimes I'll have to arm wrestle Klaire for a look that I'm like, no. And do you want to tell her which one? Like Astrid, the tunic?
Oh, the tunic. I completely forgot about that because in the books I was thinking, okay, this has to be very basic. It has to be camouflage. Not camouflage, but it shouldn't draw attention to her. And then in the comic book we have this bright red sash, and initially I was just like, ugh, it's bright red, she's going to stand out like a sore thumb. And then Chloe convinced me, like, look, this is a comic book, okay? This isn't a live action film. You've got to look at it from a very different point of view. And eventually I kind of buckled and was like, okay, and now I like it, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's also, like, visually, like, it was like, it looked way, like, I was like, okay, Nicole, can you send us it was a gray tunic, and it was just, like, it was so different. It was like, ugh. Yeah, I was like, this is our main character, and she looks badass in the red. And, like, the only people in the world who are going to care about this is the three of us, Nicole, Klaire, and I.
Right.
So we have to make sure, it's the best. And so, and then I'm happy Klaire's happy. But, like, it's, like, little things like that where I'll just be like, hello. But yeah, she's just got, like, such a vision, so, which is good. It's really good to work with. Like, there are others.
When did the first book come out?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Everything just kind of blurs
2014. 2014. Yeah.
And you had been planning this for a long time beforehand?
The first book, I'd only been planning it about 9 months beforehand, because I'd always been writing. It was something that I loved doing, and my English teacher always encouraged me while I was in school, and I just remember, I think it was close to Christmas or New Year's the previous year, and I just had this distinct impression that unless I actually started doing something with writing, I was never going to get anything done. And I needed to just start now, and I needed to it was a bit like what I did with singing on YouTube. I needed to get over my initial fear of rejection and just write, do it for the love of it, find a story that you really love and you're really passionate about, and just go for it. And so I did that, and now we've got a comic book. So, yeah.
Yeah, you do a lot. You do the YouTube, the obviously the book, the comic, the singing. How do you manage all of that? Because that's a lot for
Everyone else.
3 people, let alone one.
I get bored very easily, I guess is the short answer. I love working. I honestly don't know what's like. The worst thing about if I get sick is the fact that I can't work. I will try and work even if I'm sick because my brain just starts to itch and it's like, do something. So, and I like the fact that sometimes if I'm a little burnt out on one of them, I can jump to a different topic. And writing and singing tends to lend themselves to each other very well. So for writing songs, I like my the girl who's in the band with me, Sarah. I like to have stories in my lyrics. Sarah doesn't, and it's actually very good because we've got completely different ways of going about things. And because there's almost that little bit of friction, it means that we really push each other and get the best songs possible out of each other. So it works really well. Normally when you're burnt out on one topic, you can kind of just leave it alone for a few days, and especially with songwriting, you kind of get it in bursts, especially if you're in extreme emotions. If you're very happy or if you're very sad or if you're kind of very nervous, you tend to get good music. Music doesn't work very well with kind of bland emotions.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
You can't write a song about you just don't feel anything, or you just, oh, today feels good. It's an okay day. I'll write a song about how it's an okay day. You know, you need to write a song about how this day is fantastic or this day is terrible and it's the worst day of my life. And you need strong emotions.
I have a couple questions for you guys, if I may. How have you adapted from, because you kind of have your specific niches of writing. Claire, you prefer to write novels. And then how was this experience from taking that and adapting it to a comic? Because a lot of people in the industry I've heard say that's very difficult. How has your experience been with it?
Well, the thing is that Chloe wrote the script. I couldn't do that to save my life. And Chloe's very good at taking what I write and then adapting it to the script. And even if there's changes, still keeping that kind of original spirit of the book and keeping it in the script, which I really appreciate because that's something that drives me mad sometimes when I watch even some films which have been adapted from books. And films and books are very different. They do need to be changed. They can't be identical. They're not. It's apples and oranges, but it's just trying to keep that original kind of flavour to the story and making sure that it translates well into the script. And Chloe's very good at doing that with the book and adapting it to the script. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this was literally my first comic book. I've been writing like pilots and features since college, but you know, comic books, it's like an eye opener because I was doing the research, and I've always wanted to be a director. So essentially, it was writing this pilot, which I got that part, writing the script, and then writing the shot list and storyboard for Nikoi, and that is where it is really intense. Like, it's just like, you're like, oh yeah, the pilot got it. And then it's that shot list that's intense. It's no joke, especially because of our time frame, our crunch. So Claire would always get I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to describe this. Like there's I could pull out our shot list. It's so long and intricate for one comic book because it had to be very descriptive. And Nikoi, she's amazing illustrator, but she's from the Philippines, so English is her second language. So sometimes it's like if I'm being on the nose about something, it will be on the nose, and I'll be like, "What is this?" I was like, just random little small things, and so you have to kind of go back through it and thread it. But so the comic book is no joke. It's one of those moments where I was like, oh snap, I want to be a screenwriter, and comic book, you think they're simple, but they're not. No. They're really not. And on top of it, you want to give images. What's so amazing what's absolutely probably the whole entire reason this comic book looks as amazing as it does is because Claire sketches. She does all the concept art. So I can literally say, and this is supposed to look like this, and so for instance, you saw in the lookbook, you saw a lot of the sketches. Those are all Claire's sketches. She's doing sketches. And any of the illustration, it was Nikoi. And so it's so helpful, as I'm writing the shot list, to literally insert one of her sketches which helped Nicole. She creates these character busts that we approve first, before she actually starts doing the actual illustration. And Klaire sketches, she sketched out who Astrid is. She sketched out who Ulf is. She sketched out all these main characters in her head, quite frankly, prior to us even starting the comic books. Like, she's just been kind of sketching it out, for herself, because she's just this phenomenal artist. And so, it's one of those moments where, okay, you like to sketch, huh? When we were putting the lookbook together, Klaire just, it became, let's get more.
Yeah, I can't help myself. Every week normally what we do is each week we have a kind of catch up and we're like, right, we need to do this, I need this sketch, and every week I'm like, what do I have to draw? And sometimes I feel really bad because I fall behind, but then I go on a roll and I just have 3 days where I do nothing but draw and paint, and I'm kind of, right, I've got 50 sketches here, enjoy. But it's great because I get to draw the clothes, what people look like, the locations. One of the locations which you haven't seen in the comic book yet is called the Mad Gate, and because of the way the entrance into the city looks, it looks a bit like a kind of massive mouth because of the way the gate is. It looks like teeth, and so it's called the Mad Gate. And getting to sketch things out like that, and it also really helps writing as well, because if I've got a crystal clear image in my head, I can describe this better because I can put myself in it as if I was actually there. And I'm like, right, what would it feel like if you're here? What would it look like? What are the smells that you're going? What's the food smell like? What are the flowers that grow there, or the plants? So it just helps everything. It helps the book, it helps the comic, and I love it.
Yeah, and then pushing on to the next thing we're writing, which is the pilot. Writing that comic book was so helpful to writing the pilot, because I already had such a good outline from the comic, and literally it's kind of like our first 3 comics is the pilot. It's going to be pretty much set up that way, and I think that's also going to help with the feature that we're currently writing, because we've done the work. We've already put the work in regarding where this is going. The feature is going to kind of surround the first 2 books. It's Klaire's written, and this is a 5-part book series in her head. So, and, we want the feature to surround the first 2 books, and we already have that outline. So it's literally just kind of immersing yourself into this world. I immerse myself into Klaire's head as much as possible with this comic series, so.
And then you realize, get out fast, and you quickly backtrack.
Yeah, something like that.
Excellent. Something I like to ask creators is, what about creativity fuels this passion to continue creating?
I need it to survive, I guess. I was never very good at school. I was kind of that dyslexic kid in the classroom who just really struggled to write, funnily enough. I never had any problem reading. I just devoured books. I think I read Lord of the Rings, the unabridged version, when I was 9 or something like that. So books is just something that I read so many books. Not so much now, not as many as I would like. But creativity was always an escape from that. I always liked drawing, I always liked singing. My mum's a musician, so music was always kind of part of the household. So creativity was always just that escape for me, so I just need it to function. It's completely part of who I am. Without it, if I couldn't do any of these things, I think I'd completely lose my sense of identity, because it's just what I do. It's everything I think about. There's literally not a minute where I'm not thinking about what do I make next, or if I'm looking at something and thinking, oh, that pattern, what if I take this and apply it to that? Or it's just, my brain never shuts off, which sometimes exhausting, because sometimes I'll dream about my next project and I'll wake up and I feel like I've done a marathon because I haven't really rested. My brain's still been going and thinking about stuff. And when you do a lot of art stuff and you tend to be creative in general, you get very vivid dreams. So sometimes you wake up and you're not sure if it was real or not, and you need to take a few minutes. Like, no, you were dreaming. Just snap out of it. So yeah, for me, that's what it's like.
I have a different way of looking at it. I was the only child to 2 actor parents who gave me a very unique upbringing, and because of it, I was always influenced in kind of escaping into my own world. And it's always been something I've wanted to do, is write and to direct and inspire, because I like getting lost. I'm the type of person who feels most at home binge watching, Vampire Diaries for the third time in a row, because it's just so good. Like, I'm just like, Julie Blake is amazing. Oh my God. And I just like get so excited. And like, that's who I want to be around. Like, I want to do that. I want to do that so badly. I want to make these amazing worlds come to life. I want to see it, what I started from nothing, and bring it up to the big screen. And I just get so excited. And so yeah, that's kind of, it's like this desire to really just see this vision come to life. Like, I did that, and I've done that, on smaller occasions. And so every time you get to the next platform in your success and your creative success, it's like, you don't really get the accolades. You just get the satisfaction, like that short film.
Buzz.
Yeah,
you get that buzz.
I mean,
it feels so good.
When our short film was done, like, I was so giddy. I was just like, oh my God, because it was obsessive to me prior to that. Like, it was just like, we had our editor, Katie, she was amazing. Because she and I talked about, and by this, I'm assuming you watched the short, of our first comic. Yeah. And so I really got into that. And like, it's just like, when it was finally done, when the first edit was done, I was so happy. I was like, Claire, oh my God, it's good, oh my God. It was better than how I had envisioned it, because she came on board and she made it her own, and she added her insight into it, which was awesome. So, we went from Claire's book to Chloe's writing, to Chloe's kind of concept with McCoy, to McCoy's drawing, to Chloe working with Katie, to Katie edit, to then we got this musician involved, Moises Shepherd. He took it home, he put his like own like music to it, he made like the what's the, when you, what did we call them? When you make your own music to soundtracks, he made their music to it, and
yeah, he scored it.
Thank you. That was the first time I actually worked with someone who scored something specifically for, usually you get like the stuff you find online for free. And Claire had said to me, no, I can't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, no. My soul said no.
It was a process. Like, I had to go on Craigslist and like look, and like, God, how many, like, but anyway, we found him and he was amazing. And so when all the elements came together and we got our little short film, now, other people may not like be like blown away, but people really did respond to it, and I was so excited by it. I was like, yes, this is coming to life. And so with each step that things like kind of come to life, that's when I find like I'm the happiest. And so, you do what you love.
It's a great feeling.
Yes. Now to see it on, at
the time it sucks, because you're like, I'm so tired. Kaz being so picky. Come on, just move it, or like get this sketch done, but then when it's actually done, you just get the best high, and it's a legal high. So it's even better.
Well, it's just like the idea of like our animation coming to life, like that.
We've had so many chats about that. Like, oh my gosh. When we're having a bit of a bad day, and we're like, I'm so tired. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. When we have one of those chats, like, it's okay. Don't look at where you have to go. Look at everything you've done, and just put it into perspective. And yeah.
I think that's important for all of us to remember who are trying to create something of our own from the ground up.
You get sucked into the vortex a bit, and you just don't see a way out.
Yeah. Would you be able to speak a little bit about what's influenced you in the different love of these different mediums? Because you're attacking, this idea from a lot of angles. So what about these different mediums makes you want to break into them and tell this story through all the different means possible?
Do you want to go? Okay. So comic books really are new to both Claire and I. And the whole idea of it is primarily because we know we want to pitch this for animation. And so we're kind of entering into the comic book world, novices, and, we're attracting new people into it. And on that nature. But as far as animation goes, and then of course features, and I'll go into that in a second. But animation it's honestly just what I mentioned before earlier. It's with the binge watching and with the Last Airbender, and it's just I've seen that series like 7-8 times. Like I remember when I first watched it, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so good. Like, I couldn't stop watching it. I watched the whole thing, like, within a few days, and then had to rewatch it. And it was just, like, I don't know. Like, I was sent into another world. And how did they do that? And how did they get me, an adult, like, watching their thing? And how did I lose track of my life that much? And they inspired me in, like, the whole airbending and, like, air, elements of fire. You know, it's just, like, wow. Like, they killed it. And so that, to me, is why I want to do something as good. They inspire. Like, I was listening to them in a podcast, and I sent it to Claire. It was on Nerdist. And I was like, oh, my God. And they talked about it. I was so excited. And it was just, really hearing the way they came about things is kind of inspiring and everything. So that's kind of where our deep love for animation and the idea of binge watching it and getting something so dark but so good, like so dark and good on animation level on like HBO. I mean, it's a dream. It may be a far off dream. We may not reach that, empire, but it is something that, like, that's what I actually said to Claire the day I asked her. I was like, I want to write something good enough to get on HBO Go, like HBO digital. And Claire's like, that's never been done before. I was like, I know. Like,
and then I was like, let's do it. It's never been done before. This is exactly my kind of thing.
Exactly, because we had that moment where we're like, well, do we want to make it like a 30? Like we were kind of framing it like hour pilot, 30-minute pilot. Do we want to make it lighter, light, or do we want to, keep it dark and go dark?
Yeah, you never go lighter. If it's dark, you keep it dark. It's just.
And I mean that was and yeah, she pretty much said that. So
yeah.
It was like, all right, we're going dark, and we both have that kind of we both like the same stuff, I think, which is really good. And then as well as the series, the feature. I mean, it's what the Airbender couldn't do. It's like, I guess, our obtainable goal. But we just want to. We love movies. Like we love being like lost in, like, I mean, look at Claire's stuff like on YouTube. She's just like a fantasy guru. Like everything she does is like this kind of dark. It
has to be dark. It has to be dark every so often. Every so often I'll do something which is very sweet and nice, and then I'm like, oh, okay, we need more blood and guts, and then I feel much better afterwards.
She's not joking.
No, I'm not joking.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, do you want to add on to this question?
Well, what was nice about doing the comics really as well is just because I think there was a very clear image of how we wanted this world to look. And it's all very well to say, oh, I've got a very clear image, but unless you can show other people how it looks, especially for pitching and stuff,
right.
Otherwise it starts to blend into other things which have already been done before. Like, oh, this style, let's do it like this because they did that in, I don't know, Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe or Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, yeah, those are the kind of foundations. I mean, Tolkien he's the founder of modern day fantasy, so it's kind of inevitable that you're going to be influenced by him because he started the genre. It's like trying to say, oh, I'm not influenced by Jane Austen when you write kind of chick romances. I'm sorry, but you can't help it. But if you do a comic and you've actually painted out how this world looks, it's not going to fall into kind of something that's already been done. It's like, okay, great. Things like Lord of the Rings and other fantastic fantasy series, they've set the foundations, but don't recreate it. You can't. It's not possible. This is something that you're never going to be able to compete with. So take it in a different direction. Where else can you push this? What other stories do you want to tell? Don't tell exactly the same thing. And the comic kind of allows you to do that and to illustrate it in such a way so that your image is clearly seen by other people and it doesn't get lost into things that have already been done before.
I think that's really important. I like that idea of not necessarily copying, but use the inspiration that you take from that to fuel your own creativity and create something new.
Yeah, Because, I mean, that's what happens with everything. You can't help it. You can't help but be influenced by what you've seen and what you love. But it's important to kind of question, why do you do this? Why is this character doing that? Why is this character doing exactly the same thing that you've read in every other book? Try and think about it from their point of view. You probably go in a different way. Then do it. Don't be afraid to do it. If you're afraid to do it, you probably should do it, because that's fun. Because then you never know where you're going, and it's exciting. If you know where you're going, that's boring.
Yeah, and just a side note, just a random topic. Claire, yesterday we just filmed a collab where Claire won, because we were doing
That was funny.
a cosplay, two of our comic book characters, Sybil versus Tyr, and Claire cosplayed herself as Sybil, and we had another YouTuber cosplay himself as Tyr, and I wrote 50 questions out, and we also got some from their audience. And it was all on Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and Harry Potter. And she won. So, and she's very competitive.
I'm a little competitive.
And when she does cosplay, she looks like a completely different person. It's quite interesting. So, yeah, she knew Lord of the Rings like, I don't even know.
We read that book in my family. If you haven't read that book, we can't talk to you, because we've read the Silmarillion, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings. We basically raised The Lord of the Rings in my family. So, yeah, if I didn't know those questions, I'd have been very insulted with myself.
Excellent. So we're going to wrap up, but before we do, I like to end interviews with some fun questions. Not that these haven't been fun, but just kind of some goofy questions. So to start, for example, when you go into a buffet, what is the first item of food you go for?
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
It depends if I'm doing the vegetarian thing or not. When I am doing vegetarian, I would say, rice. And when I'm not, I would say the meat. I know that's really boring. Sorry.
What are each of your spirit animals?
Wolf. Wolf or a cat? A very, very laid-back cat, but I think it's a wolf.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think wolf, but I'm pretty sure I'm an owl.
Excellent. And finally, when the nuclear war happens and you're running to your fallout shelter, what are 2 items that you grab to take with you?
I don't run. I go in. My 4th grade teacher told me, you do not want to outlive the nuclear. Just go towards it. It'll be the best sight you ever see. She drilled that in my head, and I was.
Oh, that's so...
I know. She drilled that. We all were like, what?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how often she would say it, but it was pretty often for a
That's
teacher.
dark than what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's there, and she's like, it'll be beautiful. You don't want to live in nuclear.
Oh my God.
So I'd probably run to it.
Let me think. Machete and a chocolate bar.
Yeah,
That's what I would grab.
Awesome, excellent. Where can people find you online?
For the comic book, it's outsiderseries.com, and then for the music or the makeup that I do, special effects makeup, not regular makeup, just so people know, is klairedelys.com. That's the easiest way to just find everything I do. Otherwise, you end up having to go to a million different sites, and that's just the place where I have everything in one place.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. This has been wonderful, and best of luck to you with all of your endeavors, and we'll definitely keep an eye peeled for all of these different things coming in the future.
Yeah. Oh, and also, if you guys like our comic, please follow us on Facebook. It's really important. We're trying to expand the numbers. That's kind of what we're doing. So if you like our comic, like us on Facebook, Outsider Series. Yeah.
And there's a lot behind the scenes on stuff.
Yeah, there'll be more
sketches
going up, a lot more. Yeah, we've been kind of lax.
So it's not just the comic, it's the sketches and the ideas and what these certain words mean. So it gets very fun.
Yeah, and we're showing how you make a comic book, how you the behind the scenes to making it, and all the the stuff we do from the website to writing to, everything. So.
Yeah, all the things people don't think, oh yeah, you actually have to do that if you're writing a comic. And then Chloe's like, yeah, you actually have to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You have been listening to Pulpcast. For more information, news, and articles, please visit thepulpmedia.com.